Hello, my name is Jesse Herrera, and this is my critical assignment for Legal Issues in Kinesiology, California Baptist University. Kinesiology 550. This is my final. The facility background I chose is University Athletic Department, NCAA athletics. I basically would like to be either a junior college or a Division 1, 2, 3 NAIA college softball coach. I do coach baseball too for many years. How I got kind of in this field was I have a personal friend who's a college coach at University of Cal State Fullerton. He saw my passion for coaching and talked to me about becoming a teacher. So I started that path a couple years ago at Cal Baptist, went back to school at, I would say, 41 years old, finished up my bachelor's here, and after meeting my daughter's college coach, she played at Cerritos Junior College, Coach Murray, she kind of talked to me about coaching at the higher level instead of doing the high school, getting into the college level, which I really thrived at and I really love. I'd love to coach at the top levels around the country, some of the top universities. I do have about 20 plus years of coaching experience, but I am going to be fresh in the teaching field, so I need to, get some experience with that. But that's basically what led me here to being a college softball coach, is having three daughters. I played baseball my whole life. I was a college baseball player myself. Having three daughters, I got into the softball field. Didn't have any boys, so didn't coach baseball. I did coach my brother when he was younger, but last, let's say, 15 years has led me in the softball field. So that's kind of my background, why I want to be a university coach, and why I want to be a softball coach and teacher. I have a passion for coaching youth. I'm really big on teaching life lessons, not just teaching them the game. If a coach says hustle, and the reason behind that is not just hustle for your team, but hey, you're part of a team. You have other people relying on you. They need you to do your best to make the whole engine run smooth together. Also, it's just to teach a life lesson. Like, you're at work and you have a boss tells you to do something, you got to do it. It's not to sit and make excuses and give a half effort, because if you do that, you won't succeed at life or a job or anything. That's kind of my background, why I chose being the University Athletic Department. Then we have some issues that have come up in the athletic department at a university level. We have sexual harassment, student safety, disabilities. For the sexual harassment, it seems to be coming up way too often. We have the case of Jennings versus University of North Carolina. Jennings was a female athlete who sued for harassment. The coach was degrading, humiliating, and embarrassing her. We have another issue of student safety, Class versus Townsend University. This case was a physician. We had a student athlete who was a football player, suffered heat stroke during practice. Student wanted to come back sooner than the physician cleared him to. So student safety is not just keeping the student safe from outside surroundings. Sometimes it's keeping the student safe from themselves. We have disabilities and issues with disabilities. Learning disabilities in the case of Matthews versus NCAA. Matthews was testing the fact that you shouldn't have to hit the 75% credit hours to be able to play the sport he was playing and not being eligible. So the issue is that fair to the other athletes that don't have learning disabilities, that have to have a certain level of academic standard, and versus Matthews, who didn't because he had a learning disability. So those are some issues that have come up in athletic departments. I'm sure they're going to come up again, and it's good to know how to lower the risk on these things coming up again. So that's why next we have our risk management section here. A couple cases that have come up and ways to mitigate the risk. One, we have Mogab Gab versus Orleans Parish School Board. He was actually a football player also, suffered heat stroke. The major problem here was there was no qualified personnel in attendance. The player collapsed during football practice. They were at an off-site practice facility, so they weren't on their general field where there may have been more people there to help out, like trainers. None of the coaches were CPR certified. There was no communication devices where they were to relay, call for help, and there was no athletic trainer there on campus at that time where they were. So it was several hours before a professional doctor showed up to help the kid. Ways we can mitigate that in my field, being a softball coach, is make sure all my coaches and staff are CPR and first aid certified. We are not professional doctors. We never will be, but we need to know the basics to help somebody immediately. Right in those few seconds could be the difference between someone living and not making it. I would have defibrillators installed at every practice and playing area, not just at the main sites. Wherever there's a field to practice on, where a team might be, there needs to be one of those to make sure if we have to help someone that's in that situation get their heart started again, we need to do that. There should be a working phone system or cell phones on all staff members, no matter where we are at. And there should be an athletic trainer to be within close proximity for all practices and games. If you're practicing off-site, then arrangements need to be made to make sure someone that is trained to help out as an athletic trainer needs to be there, or close enough that they can get there with a phone call. We also have Higgins versus United Center of Joint Venture. We have Patricia Higgins, who was struck above the eyelid and by a puck at a hockey game, and she was injured. She sued due to the safety nets failing to stop the puck. We have to make sure our players and fans are safe, not just players. Ways to stop this from happening again is to make sure we have all safety nets and equipment checked weekly. For me, the softball field, we need to have someone physically check the nets. Over time, wear and tear, weather, these nets can break down. In this case of Higgins, the nets were up. It's just it didn't stop the puck. It got through. So we make sure that they're checked weekly. We need to post signs at the field saying potential balls or pucks. Pucks for hockey could be flying, but for me, potential balls could hurt you and hit you in the stands. Let everybody, if it gets on their mind when they walk in, they see that sign, they may subconsciously pay attention more than they normally would. And we can have our fans sign waivers when they come in that you are at risk of balls flying. And the more we can get it on the fan's mind, the better chance we have of something bad not happening. We also have Cooper versus the trustees of the College of the Holy Cross. Cooper was a former basketball player. She sued for suffering physical, mental, and emotional abuse from her coach. So bullying is the problem here. Bullying is not just between a player and a student. It can be between a coach and a student. As a coach, I need to know that fine line between pushing a player too far and I'm bullying someone, or am I pushing them enough to get the best out of them. Ways to mitigate that risk is to make sure there's policies in place for athletic department to regulate social media, internet, text messaging, or in-person bullying. Let it be known that none of that is tolerated. Implementing a strict rule such as no tolerance rule. It means it happens one time, you're off the team. Or if it happens one time, you're suspended for 5 games. It just needs to be known up front. If it happens one time, there is no excuse. Complaints need to be reported to the head of athletic department. So the coach needs to report them. He can't just take care of the problem himself. He needs to report it to the head of the athletic department. And then ways to help is implement team bonding and team building activities. The more the kids on the team and athletes feel part of a team, like they're a family, less chance we'll have of bullying. Now we have some employment laws. Issues that have come up in the athletic departments for employment laws. We have Moshak versus the University of Tennessee. The problem here was complaint about unequal pay between men and women's athletic departments and retaliation. So we have some employees who were complaining about unequal pay between the men's and the women's department. The men were getting paid more than the women, and then they were fired. So that's obviously not right. Ways to help prevent that maybe and resolve it is maybe have an investigation committee. So anytime someone makes a complaint, it goes to a committee of people. That way one person isn't making the call. They could be the person they're retaliating against. We don't want. The more people we can get involved, reduces the chance we have of lawsuits and the problem not getting solved. Make sure there's procedures in place that the manager must report the firing to his or her manager. Again, more people involved, better chance to reduce lawsuit. We have Baldwin versus the Board of Supervisors for the University of Louisiana system. So we have an African-American football coach who was fired and replaced by a white coach. He had claimed that he wasn't, it was racially, the firing was because it was a racial issue, that he didn't get the same opportunities that the white coach before him actually had. As far as resources, his team wasn't put in games where they make more money, which he could use that in turn for better recruiting to make the team better. There was no marketing director, even though the previous coach had one. So not given the same opportunities to succeed as they did the other coach. Ways to help that problem, maybe have a set time frame for a contract. Like every first-time coach gets a 2-year contract, no matter what. Maybe having coaching salaries based on tenure, not just where it's opinion for one person in charge as an athletic director can give this person $5 million a year to coach a football team, and they give this person $1 million. That's where you could have the discrimination if the African American got $1 million and the white male American got $5 million. So we need to try to eliminate that. All right. And another employment law that I will be dealing with is, safety. Rodolphe versus Rydell. A lot of people heard that name, Rydell. It's their big manufacturer of football helmets. We had a player who was paralyzed after sustaining a head injury in football practice. He was not adequately warned. There was no stickers in the helmet saying there's a danger of this sport. I know we all have an assumed risk. Playing football, you could get hurt. But Rydell did have to pay damages because they did not have a sticker, which is part of the prevention here. We could, put warning label stickers on the equipment, in the helmet, saying that this, head-to-head comment, even with our protection, can cause concussion. For me, in the softball field, we need to have warning labels on, all equipment. Bats, helmets, same thing. Make sure we have multiple people checking the safety of this equipment. Maybe have an assistant coach or two. Make sure we have multiple people double checking equipment. We have umpires before games check equipment, but let's have our coaches do that also. We also need to have our staff attend conferences on safety precaution and ways to prevent injuries. That also is going to be a big deal in helping. The application of what I need to do and things that I've learned in this class is I knew there was inequality somewhat, but inequality between genders was pretty big in some of the material we review between men and women coaches. Me coaching women, I do have kind of a heart for that topic where I do want to help do something about that to kind of help even things out. Lawsuits for fans attending games. I didn't realize how many lawsuits there were from people getting hurt, injured at games. Every action has a reaction. What I learned is something happens, somebody can sue. We may think it's not a good reason, but we're not the person. We don't know how they were affected, mentally. So I did learn that we got to find a lot of ways to prevent lawsuits. Things to look out for as a college coach. Bullying, it's a big deal. Racial and gender discrimination. Equipment safety. I kind of touched on those topics, but those are kind of 3 main things I want to make sure I'm looking for when I become a college coach. Faith integration. Galatians 3:28. There's neither Jew nor Greek. There's neither slave nor free. There's no male and female, for you are all one in Jesus Christ. Basically, we're all the same. So let's treat everybody the same. Let's not discriminate for any reason. Let's not pick one coach versus another coach because of their gender, male, female, transgender, black, white, Mexican, whatever. Matthew 7:12. So whatever you wish that others would do to you, do also to them, for this is the law of the prophets. If you don't want someone discriminating against you, don't discriminate against someone else. 1 John 2:9. Whoever says he is the light and hates his brother is still in darkness. Basically meaning we can't see the light, we can't get to heaven if we have hatred for somebody else. It's just not going to happen. That's some of the faith that I've integrated into the coaching. As far as religion and sports, there's several issues that come up. Can a coach have his team pray before the game? Is a moment of silence considered illegal prayers? Can a coach use Christian principles to counsel an athlete? An example here is, I'm a Christian first. I'm a coach second. Let's say a female athlete comes to me and wants to have an abortion. I'm actually going to give her my Christian principles. It is ultimately her choice, but I do feel as a coach I can give my values and my ethics to people with my advice. I personally don't think it's a problem as long as I'm not forcing someone to do something on my team because of my religion. That's, I believe, where the line becomes illegal. As far as I'm concerned, if you ask everybody if they want to have a team prayer before the game, if everybody signs off, I think that should be fine. That's it. Here's my reference sections. I thank you all for listening to my product here, and I hope you had a good time. Thank you.